What's going on? I see resume chick out there. How you doing? Welcome on into the 411 podcast. Tonight, I have my friend, Mr. David Wayne Fox, coming in the building tonight. We worked together in the past. He's a great photographer. He's going to come on through and share his experiences, what's been going on in his world. So, yeah, it's been a minute, and we back. Had a little vacation, so we are back on a 411 podcast again. My guest tonight, Mr. David Wayne Fox, all the way from Brooklyn, New York. If anybody knows, they know that I love Brooklyn, so can't wait to speak to my friend and get caught up and see what's going on in his world. As always, we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the song of the day. Now, I have to tell you that when I first heard this artist, I actually thought that it was Usher. And I was like, Usher has a new song. So it was, some 5, 6 years ago when I first heard it. So I started to Google it, Shazam it, whatever was going on at the time. And it wasn't Usher. I was like, who is this person? So the song is called Twist and it's by Nathan Sykes. And if you actually look up Nathan Sykes, he looks absolutely nothing like Usher. So to hear the elements of Usher from that was just amazing to me. I was just like telling everybody like you have to listen to the song. It sounds just like Usher. So song of the day, Twist by Nathan Sykes off of the Unfinished Business album 2016. And it's actually Nathan's birthday today. So happy birthday, Nathan. And I strongly urge y'all to go ahead and check that song out because don't look at the video, just play the song. You're going to hear elements of Usher and that all over that. And I just thought it was amazing. So, song of the day, Twist. Now, I have to give a very, very, very special thank you to the people who support the 411 podcast. And I actually had some time to sit back and think about a couple things and think about the people who have come and gone. And I know I spoke about this, during the last show. But since then, I've still seen some more craziness that goes on with this whole social media thing. And I've had a friend of mine speak up about, a couple friends of mine speak up about how there's been some backwards, backbiting, people bullying and doing all kinds of weird things out here. But for anybody out there that does not like the 411 podcast, doesn't want to listen to anything that's going on here, everybody has a right to just unplug, disconnect, unfollow, unsubscribe, whatever the case may be. You all just have that right. But what I would like is that for those of you who are out there and say that you're, supporting and, you're the one that continues to show up and comment and all of those great things, the minute that is not so good for you, especially if we were cool like that, all you got to do is let me know. Like, was there something that was said? Was there something that was done that made you feel a certain way where you needed to do some crazy things? Just let me know. I mean, it's not that deep, but for some people it is. It is what it is. But anyway, for the people who really do support and have been there for the long haul, I just want to say thank you so much. Very special thank you to my cousin, Smiling Back. Y'all go ahead and check her out on Instagram. Thank you so much for just coming through and supporting me. When I speak about family, because sometimes family can be a little shifty and sometimes family can be a little shady. I'm just keeping it real. I would say I definitely have to give it up to my cousin for always pulling through and pushing through and understanding and knowing, my journey and understanding the struggle and definitely supporting me. And I appreciate you for that. Also, want to give a very special shout out to $5 Jewelry Queen, and that is Queen with a QWEEN. Definitely rocking her jewelry tonight. So thank you so much for sponsoring tonight's jewelry. Also, Mr. Jason T. Davis, all the way from California. One of my good friends, Mr. Adam Bullock from Phoenix, Arizona. I want to give a very special shout out to Arizona in general. It's just been amazing, the love that's coming from that. And you will also see some more things from Laren Gaines back, on my trip when I was out there in Phoenix, Arizona a couple months ago. So it's actually finally up and running and ready to go. So we got a good magazine interview for you coming up real soon. What's going on, Miss Bethany, all the way out there from California? Thank you so much for coming through and supporting as well. Author Irene Hill, go ahead and check her out as well. Lynn, all the way from the UK. And also a very, very, very special thank you to Miss Sophie Davis, all the way from the UK, always supporting, always checking me out on Instagram and checking me out on YouTube as well. Want to give a very special shout out to the resume chick. Y'all go ahead and check her out. You need to get your resume together. Check out the resume chick. Check out the replay. We came through with some great energy, and I love when, people get together and it really makes sense. So, mad love. Check out the resume chick. Fashion Rista, thank you so much for coming through. Also, Tony Green, can't wait to speak to you. I believe that you're coming in on Sunday. So we are going to have some YRE hair growth with Miss Tony and also Mr. Paper Chasing Mel. What's going on, Mr. Hazard? I appreciate you as well. Thank you all to everybody who supports the 411 podcast and Reading Between the Lines. Most certainly could not do it without the people who continue to show up and show out. And I just want to say thank you so much. Now, we need to go ahead and rewind this thing a little bit. And I shared my story with you as far as how I actually got here. So I spoke about My Inspirations Volume 1, the first book that I wrote. And I had no idea that I was going to be, a professional live streaming podcaster coming out here night after night after night. All I thought was I was just going to, write a book and, share it with my friends and family and all of that great stuff. But something in me pushed me to, get it together and share it with the world. And through sharing it with each and every one of you out there, I was able to actually heal myself from the inside out. So the question that I have for everybody out there is, do you have the strength, the courage, and the power to change your immediate situation? And I'm going to answer for all of y'all, whether you want to answer it or not. I had this conversation with my daughters yesterday. We all have the power. We all have the strength. We all have the courage to change our immediate situation. The real answer is, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it, or are you going to stay stuck? Because it's easy for us to stay stuck because that's what we're used to. It's easy to stay in that situation, stay in that relationship, continue to put yourself in these bad situations because it's that comfort zone. Is something that you've been doing it for a minute. It doesn't take time to think about it. It's like clockwork. You just show up, show out, do whatever you do. It's simple, it's easy. But the real thing is that inner strength, that inner courage, and that power to say, no longer am I going to live my life this way. No longer am I going to allow you to treat me this way. No longer am I going to continue to treat myself this way. I love me. I love me. I love me just a little bit more than you do. So when you get to that point, That's when you start to tap into the inner you. We all have that strength. We all have that courage. We all have that power within us. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? I'm just speaking from some real life experience, that's all. And I never thought that I would be here today, being able to even speak like this, being able to even show up like this, show up the way I want to show up, and speak the truth the way that I always wanted to speak because it was always hidden on the inside. Now, with that, it's very simple. All of a sudden, you wake up. I woke up, and I have a greater level of acceptance. And I had to learn, you know what? Mm-mm. You have to accept him. You have to accept her. You have to accept this circumstance. You got to accept this job. You got to accept whatever it is for what it is. So, another question that I have you challenged your level of acceptance? Because before I didn't know how to accept things for what they were. I was like, nah, that's a joke. I'm going to go ahead and change that situation. You look good on the outside. I like your shell on the outside, but all of that on the inside, I'm gonna go ahead and try to change that. I'm gonna go ahead and try to change this whole situation, and it's just gonna work out so wonderful for me. Let me tell you, I can count on my one hand how many times that it failed. One, two, three, four. I mean, we almost working up to five now. So come on now, when you gonna get it together? And I had to learn, and I had to accept you, this, that, people, places, things. I don't care for exactly what they are. No expectations. When you tell me who you are in the beginning, I accept it and I believe you. And that's it. I feel so much better now that I accept. And that's just it. Have you challenged your own level of acceptance? Were you a type of person that didn't want to listen to anything? You thought that you can change somebody, you thought you can move mountains and all of these things. Listen, challenge your level of acceptance. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time around. Not the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, but the first time around, believe them. And when they tell you who they are, that's cool. Like, I get it. That's who you are. This is who I am. Now, the bottom line is, can we make this thing work? That's it. I don't know what's going on Instagram tonight, but they got a little disruption going on, but that's cool because we still rocking and rolling in every other area. Again, if you want to go ahead and support, please go ahead and check out my YouTube videos. Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe, do all of the whole nine. Do whatever you need to do to make that work. I definitely do appreciate you out there. Let's go ahead and reach out to my special guest, Mr. David Wayne Fox. Catch up with him and find out what's going on in his world.
Good evening, sir.
What's going on? Welcome to the 411.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
Yes, thank you for coming back. This is, let me guess, third or fourth time?
I think it's the third.
Well, I know one time we had such a big issue, all computer glitches, the phone kept going in and out.
Yeah, so maybe it's the third and a half.
we need we need to go back and delete that video. Like, that was such a
I
horrible
actually
situation.
totally forgot about that until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh man, I sit back and I look back on the whole journey and I'm like, yeah, I can't believe you wore that. We're never gonna do that again. And I can't believe
No.
you invited that guest on. We're never gonna do that again. Like, it's funny the evolution of this whole process. But I want to say thank you for supporting and you know really giving me a chance. You are an amazing photographer and your work is amazing. And I've always wanted to do that type of work that you do and just didn't know how to do it. And look what happened.
Well, thank you for having me back. It's just been it has been a nice journey, and we had our own little journey together too, didn't we?
Mm-hmm,
With
mm-hmm.
nice little photo shoot in October, I think, of last year.
Was it? Are you sure it was
Yeah,
October?
I
It,
think it, or maybe it was even before that. It was some time ago
yeah,
because yeah, maybe it was even September.
yeah. It might have
Is that
been. It might have been the fall, but I know it was hot though. I'll tell you that.
yeah? So it's probably more like September, like early September or something like that. Um, but yeah, we had a good time.
Peabody Nick.
And you were
I'm just
say what?
I'm just listening to this reading this comment here from Mr. Peabody Nick. I don't know what you got going on here tonight, sir, but his comment was, "Well, I'm Easy E. I got bitches galore. You may have a lot of bitches, but I got much more."
Okay.
But go ahead. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't remember. I was just going to say you were a good model.
Oh,
You were a great subject for me to photograph, and I had such a good time with that.
well, thank you. I never really considered myself as a model. I remember one time I wanted to be a model when I was in middle school or something. I think they had this company called Barbizon or something like that.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I brought the paperwork home. Let's just say that it didn't go over well in my household. So I quickly got over that. But yeah, I never really, wanted to be a model. But when you start to do certain things and you want to be, an entertainer and stuff like that, all of that stuff becomes, interchangeable.
Oh yeah. I went through the same thing. I think it was even Barbizon myself when I was in my early 20s, and I went in. And they said, "Oh yes, you definitely have the look."
Hmm.
I think they tell that to every
Everybody,
Tom,
yeah.
Dick, and Harry that comes in.
But
And you have the look as long as you shell out the $500 a day, or whatever.
right, right, right. I could see you having a look though. I could see that.
Well, um, maybe back then.
No, I mean, listen, there's no age limit when it comes to modeling. Right now,
No,
there's no age limit. There's no size limit. You can pretty much do anything that you want to do.
it's true. There may be a patience limit, but I don't know.
So,
There was a time I when I had a much bigger ego and a much prettier face that I thought I might want to do something like that. But yeah, those days are long gone.
I would question that. I wouldn't think like that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm just saying things can change. Do you tell yourself that you're getting older, or do you tell yourself that you're getting younger?
Well, I just turned 60 in January. Did you know
Oh, well,
that?
congratulate. Yes, I knew that it was your birthday, but I didn't know the
Yeah.
age. Hmm.
And I every decade gets better, Larry. Every decade gets better. I always thought, when I was turned 40, and I was like, oh gosh, 40, and then I
Hmm.
was just like, oh, this is when you start kind of living your authentic life, and then
Absolutely.
and then I went through my 50s, and I'm like, oh, this is even better. This is where I start not putting up with the BS. And now at 60, I think I can do pretty much anything I want to do. So it's, I just, I feel like I've been through so much, and I've had a good life. I haven't had uh, any major traumas or
That's
anything like
good.
that, knock on wood. And yeah.
Well,
So,
I don't know. I stopped putting up with the BS at 40, 39, 40. I was like, I'm done with this.
oh, I didn't even know you were that old.
How old did you think what I am or was,
I'm not going to
whatever?
answer
Well,
that.
I'm actually going to be 42 this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. When's your birthday?
December 11th.
Okay, that's a day right before my brother's birthday. This is the 12th. Fellow
Now,
Sagittarian.
how well did you and your brother get along growing up with you being Capricorn, right?
Aquarius.
Oh, that might
Um,
have been interesting.
yeah. So I'm one of those artistic weirdos, but I, I, Larry and I get along better now than we did as growing up. We had our typical brotherly rivalry, and I was a brat, and he was a brat, and so you know we we fought like any brothers did. But I'll never forget one time when I was chasing him around, and I was mad at something, and he was my punching bag. And so I was chasing him around, and I think I was maybe 10 and he was 6, something like that.
Hmm.
And I cornered him behind a doorway. And he looked up at me with this kind of frightened look in his face. And I realized I had the upper hand here. And I didn't want to use it. I started crying because he looked like he was starting to cry. And he was like, don't hit me. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I think that was my turning point when I realized, why am I taking out my aggressions and my frustrations? So I had like a little mature 10-year-old moment there.
Can I tell you that I wish that I had those moments when it comes to me growing up? I used to get beat up by my brother and sister all the time. And
Oh gosh.
it wasn't until I decided, because there's, a 10, 13 year difference between us. But it wasn't until I
Okay.
decided to get smart. Like they were teenagers, they started driving, they started having cars and boyfriends and girlfriends. So I was like, that's cool. You can say what you want to say now, but when your girlfriend or your boyfriend comes over, I'm going to embarrass you. And that would be the ultimate time where they actually started to leave me alone because I would start with that. I would embarrass
Uh-huh.
them. And then I started to attack their cars and their personal belongings. That was very important to them. And then it stopped them from beating me up. But now, if I actually had
Yeah.
that situation where they were actually cornered and they started to cry, oh, I would have went all the way in. Oh, I would have went all the
You would have
way
played that total guilt trip, right?
in. Yes. Oh, so what's the last project that you worked on when it comes to photography?
Probably you.
Really? Okay.
it's I've been so busy this last few months. I just moved to Brooklyn. I just got a new job in Brooklyn. I call 2020 or 2022, whatever year this is,
Yeah.
my year of the Brooklyn reboot. I just
Mm.
completely rebooted my entire life here in New York and moved out of Manhattan and came down to a little neighborhood called Cypress Hills. And
Like the rap group Cypress Hill.
what's that?
Do you remember the rap group Cypress Hill?
I don't.
You do. I'm sure you do. Hopefully, I'm getting this right. Um, Now the song just went out of my mind because I was overthinking. What's the Cypress Hill joint? Everybody knows it. It was crazy. Anyway, someone's gonna let me know what the Cypress Hill song was.
Yeah, somebody will comment
You
on it.
you
But
know you know what it is. But go ahead. Sorry.
but yeah, I just I wanted a bigger place. had long outgrown my little room in Washington Heights, and
Hmm.
I had two lovely roommates that I lived with for 13 years. I never thought I'd live 13 years with the same two roommates that weren't family or somebody like that. But it had worked out very nicely, and we all got along well. And um, so but yeah, I moved out at the end of January, just like the day before my birthday, and then a couple of months or a month later, I got a new job here in Brooklyn also. And,
Welcome. Congratulations on all of that. The
yeah,
last
thanks.
time that I was in Brooklyn was at the Barclay Center.
Yeah.
When was that? That was November. It must have been
Okay.
September when we did our shoot then, because November I was at the Barclay Center. So you're right. Yeah. Now,
Okay.
have you ever been to that venue?
I have been by it. I don't think I've been in it.
Hmm. I will tell
Um,
you that it's amazing inside there. I would definitely
is
go back.
it?
I would definitely go back and see more shows there.
Okay. Um, yeah, uh, yeah, I've not done much at all in Brooklyn. I've come to the Botanic Gardens. I'm still learning it a lot. And if your listeners have any idea of like some good places to photograph here in Brooklyn, I know the Botanic Gardens are beautiful and
Mm.
all that. But if there's some great architecture or neighborhoods or something that's good for some cityscape photography, I'm very open to suggestions. I've done some already around Bed-Stuy neighborhood. I've got some beautiful brownstones and added them to my
Oh,
collection in my store. But yeah,
you just go everywhere.
if I love classic old buildings and some of the actually what I really want to do is photograph some of the graffiti here in Brooklyn
Mm.
because as I'm passing by on the elevated train on the J line, I see the most fascinating
Absolutely. Yeah.
array of buildings with graffiti on them, including these old, beautiful banks and everything. And my first impulse would be to say, "Oh no, this is horrible. They're defacing the old buildings." But these old buildings are abandoned. Nobody's using them and
Hmm.
everything, and they look like works of art with
They
all this
do.
graffiti all over them. And I want to do some photography of that. It's really quite fascinating and picturesque in its
I want
interesting
to
way.
know. Some of them are just like so over the top that I wonder how did
Yeah.
they do it without getting caught, and when did they do it? Like when did you do
I
it?
wonder how they reach some of these places. I mean, it's some of the stuff it doesn't look like they'd be able to reach it without like scaffolding or something. So I wonder how they get
Yeah,
access to some of these
I think
places.
it's like yeah, go ahead and do it because it's gonna make it look good and it's part of the culture and everything. Just you go ahead and do it. Like
Yeah.
some of it is just like you're right. Like how'd you get up that high? How'd you get access to all of these things? It's like craziness.
Hmm. But I'm kind of fascinated by, and I'm slowly falling in love with my new borough. It's when I first moved to New York 13 years ago, it's like, oh, I have to live in Manhattan. Manhattan's where it's at. But
Now,
I've I'm finding a lot to love here in Brooklyn.
are you near the Trader Joe's? Are you near the Wegmans? Are you near the Costco?
I don't feel like I'm near anything.
Any of
To
that?
be honest, I'm like just south of this little Highland Park area where there's all these old cemeteries and everything.
You
But
said
I just feel like I'm way the heck out. I don't feel like I'm near much of anything.
you
I'm
s-
still learning the borough too, so I've only been here a couple of months. So and
did
because this time of year I don't get out too much, I'm still discovering things.
did you say you're near cemeteries?
Yeah. I live near like the National Memorial Cemetery, and there's an old Jewish cemetery and Hungarian.
Mm.
It's Alexa, be quiet. For some reason, I just decided to speak up.
That's funny. Like we can interview Alexa, ask her some questions.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's a lot of beautiful old crypts and graves, and that's another thing I love to photograph is these beautiful old cemeteries. I'm very
Now,
picturesque.
so you're not you don't get spooked out frolicking around in a cemetery.
I don't actually. When I went to Paris a few years ago, that was
Oh
one of the
boy.
first things I went to photograph.
Oh boy.
I was staying in Montmartre, and I went and photographed the Montmartre cemetery before anything else.
Great. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't know. I'll have to find out, but I don't think I'm gonna be playing around in those cemeteries. So, would you like to tell everybody about um, my phobia? What is it called? I don't never looked it up, but I think someone looked it up for me one at one point.
Yeah, yeah. I, it's a fear of statuary
I
and
just
statues,
can't deal with it.
and it's and we've talked about. I don't know if we've actually talked about it on the podcast, maybe a little bit,
Yeah,
but yeah, we have. Um, but when we were doing our photo shoot, we saw there's these huge.
huge, huge is not even a
I,
word.
really large statues near, what is it, the bus terminal, or
Yeah, the train
the
station.
train
Yeah,
terminal,
yeah.
train station. And uh, I said, well, we should just face your fears, and we should do a shoot in front of one of these
How,
big,
how would it even have worked anyway? Because they're so tall that you would have to be like down the street
on the
and around.
ground.
Yeah,
Or yeah, or looking up. We would have figured something
if
out.
I would have stood next to those statues, I probably it probably would have made it worse.
Yeah,
Couldn't do it.
yeah. Um, but yeah,
Did you didn't
yeah.
find any of those statues to be a little creepy?
They were weird. They were kind of like playful, but from what I remember, they were really kind of playful, but they were just like uh, they were kind of weird.
Mm,
I'll grant you that.
they're so big, right? That
Uh-huh.
when you're driving in a car, if you're anything like me, like you would think that the statues would start to like run and chase after the car and pick the car up. That's how big they are.
Yeah, if one has a very strong imagination like
Well,
you, then
there you go.
yeah, one would think that.
There you go. Like I don't mess with statues at all. I think
I
that
Yeah.
I think that they're gonna like start to move and talk to you or listen. I don't mess with them. Mm-mm. And
You, I think we talked about this once before, but do you remember the opening of Angels in America, the TV production of it?
I'm very horrible when it comes to television and movies. So you're talking to the
It was
wrong one.
Angels in America opened with, and there it's kind of the motif of the whole thing. It took place a lot there. It was the Bethesda angel statue on the fountain, which I've photographed many times in Central Park.
Hmm.
And there's a close up on the face, and then the face, I think, turns and kind of looks at you,
No,
and
no.
it's
Mm-mm.
like that was creepy.
See, it's stuff like that, and it's movies that I've seen as a kid that actually started it. But how this whole thing happened was in that same area that we were at. I used to ride my bike up and down all the time, and there was nothing but
Uh-huh.
fields there. It was open, almost near the grounds for sculpture when we were in that area.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that they installed these huge statues overnight. So I just went and I started to ride my bike like normal. And then all of a sudden I seen like horses and suit of armor and crazy stuff that were like 30 feet tall. I was like, no, this ain't happening. So
And this was like uh, you were like 10 or 12 or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that,
something
or
like that. Just riding my bike like normal. And I'm like, what the hell is
yeah.
this? And yeah, that really triggered it even more. And then from there they just kept adding weird statues and crap everywhere.
I suppose if you don't know where it's coming from, that would be pretty strange,
Yeah,
especially if it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
right.
There's a lot of stretches out in your area that are very kind of barren. So yeah, I get that.
So you like to travel, you photograph, all different types of things. Another thing that you like to photograph is castles and stuff. And That's another thing I don't deal with is old. I call them creepy buildings and things that might look like they come from a horror movie. So you're not reluctant; you just go right on in.
Well, so I look at some of these abandoned places, and I actually like a lot of them if they are accessible to the public. You know, I'm not one of those people that goes sneaks into properties and takes pictures of abandoned buildings or anything like that, because those are really creepy, and I probably would be a little creeped out by that. I have dreams about abandoned buildings with paint peeling and old furniture lying on its side and things like that. And
See,
I'm
that's why.
fascinated
That's
by
exactly
the
why you should
photos.
stay away from some of these places. That's why you have those dreams because you go to these creepy places.
But I don't. I love pictures of them, but I some of the places there's a beautiful old. It's the smallpox hospital from the 1800s that is on Roosevelt Island, and it's during the summer it's covered in vines, and they're trying to restore it a little bit so you can walk among it because it's kind of really falling apart. But it's this beautiful old architecture with these Gothic windows, and I was fascinated by that place. I got a lot of good shots of that. There's some in my little shop, but
Hmm.
it's yeah. So that kind of stuff I do like. But if I picture myself going into a place, um, I mean, actually on Ellis Island, there's an old hospital that you can go into. It's a hard hat tour. That's something I want to do, but it's a guided tour.
So
So
you
they
have to
take
wear
you
a hard.
through, and
You have
there's a
to.
group of people.
You have to wear a hard hat in case something falls and hits you on the head.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I have to say about that?
I can imagine something along the lines of "No beep way."
I just I don't get it. Why would you risk? And you think that that hard hat's really going to help you if something big enough falls on you?
Well,
Listen, and you got to sign
you
a
know,
waiver. I'm sure you got to sign a waiver.
I don't know if it's that much of a thing, but
Oh, I'm sure it
uh,
is.
yeah, I mean, there's probably very minimal danger, or they wouldn't let people in at all. You know, they're just probably more concerned about a falling pebble or bird pooping on your head or something.
I went.
But
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Now I was saying that I went to one tour. I think it was the Eastern State Penitentiary. Same type of thing. You had to wear a
Oh
hard.
yeah.
You had to wear a hard hat. You had to sign a waiver. And no, not into all of that.
But so that you found that creepy, or did you
Oh,
find that
oh,
interesting?
absolutely. It was a tour. They decorate it up and they do a haunted house every Halloween. But this was a regular daytime tour. It wasn't even nowhere near Halloween. And the building is creepy during the daytime. So I can imagine when they do it up for Halloween. I've done both the regular day tour and the Halloween tour, but the building itself is just weird and creepy and
Uh-huh.
3 foot cells and weird stuff like that.
Oh, but as a photographer, I love photographing those things. And sometimes, like when the light comes through the windows and hits all the peeling paint, these creates these interesting textures and shadows and everything. I do really do love that.
You must not watch much horror movies, huh?
I really don't. I
Yeah.
like them,
Hmm.
so the well done ones, but most of them I find silly or too derivative.
What's the
Um,
what's the last horror movie that you watched?
I watched The Conjuring, and The Conjuring for
Oh,
me
that
was
that
like
one's
a rip off of The Exorcist and Poltergeist. I thought it was well done,
mhm.
but I didn't find it particularly scary. Um,
What
I find things like the movies that scare me the most are more psychological horror films, like Jacob's Ladder, or well, I think I told you the movie that scared me the most, 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
That darn baby floating at the end, that just scared the heck out of me as a kid.
So I
But
mean,
as an adult, yeah, Jacob's Ladder I think scared me more than anything else.
you mentioned two classic movies, The Exorcist and The Poltergeist. Which one did you
Yeah,
find to be more scary out of the two?
The Exorcist, hands down. The Poltergeist was a lark. That was like a roller coaster, or a. It was just fun,
Hmm.
and you had the family dynamic. I didn't find Poltergeist really scary at all. I found it fun and kind of gimmicky. But The Exorcist was so based in a feeling of reality and this misty, dreamy feeling to it. That, I mean, I didn't see it until, it came out in, I think, 1973, and I didn't see it until it was on network TV in the 80s. It was very uh, very censored, obviously, for network TV.
Yeah.
And then I saw it on video years later, and I was like, oh my gosh, this has some pretty raw things in it. But yeah, The Exorcist disturbs me. It gives me a stomach ache every time I watch it, and so I don't watch it that much
I would tell you,
anymore.
I do agree with that. I do agree, but as a kid watching The Poltergeist, I don't know which one it
Uh,
was, whether it must have been, I don't know, maybe it was one or two, but Kane was interesting. He was very, he scared me, Kane. Like the old man
uh,
walking down, whistling and singing, like in the,
oh, that was number two,
okay,
where he's going around singing, "God is in His holy temple."
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that was number two. He was creepy.
in my neighborhood, like we used to leave the doors open. You could do whatever back in the day. Nobody really did anything. But you would see people walking up and down interacting with kids like that. So when I saw stuff
Ugh.
like that, whenever I saw, adults that looked similar to him, I was like, yeah, no, we stay away from this character.
Yeah, this actor too. He was suffering from cancer at the time, which is why he was so thin. But
Mm,
he wanted to make this film, and so they used it. His physicality from his weight loss, and lit him in such a way that made him look very terrifying. And then I think he passed away soon afterwards. But
yeah, they had a lot
yeah,
of they had a lot of weird things about the things that happened to the cast who played in that.
oh, the little girl, or
Yes,
Heather O'Rourke. Yeah,
so many things happened to a lot of people who played, you know, in those
and
films.
the older sister, yeah, she passed away. And, yeah, they called it the Poltergeist curse. It was just, I think, it was a lot of bad luck actually. But,
Yeah, yeah. Well, now that we went down that path,
it's like, is it October again?
if you could go ahead and let everybody know where they can follow you at, your Instagram. I know you're on Facebook. You have a couple different pages, right?
Yeah. Well, I have two. I have three Instagram feeds, but the two of interest for my photography, I have. Actually, I have four now, but yeah, the two for my photography, I have a new one, which is DW Fox Portraits. So it's DWFOX Portraits,
Mm-hmm.
and there people can see some of the work that I did with you, in addition to some of the other ones I've done, and that's what I'm kind of working on building this year. This coming year is upping my portraits and doing more independent projects with portraiture. And then my one that I concentrate on my cityscapes and landscapes and travel photography is David Wayne Fox Photography. So those are the two that people can follow me on Instagram and enjoy my work.
And then now we can purchase your portrait as well.
Yes, you can commission me to do portraits. I, rates are kind of on a sliding scale, so that would basically individually. I sort of average around 600 a day for my portrait work, but it's like I said, it's on a sliding scale. That can be discussed, but I do. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I do a lot of theater photography also, which is also you can see on the portraits page. And I was really fortunate to get to shoot actress Jackie Hoffman in my friend's play.
Oh, well, congratulations on that.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I've done a little bit of celebrity photography also. There's some other celebrities on my page too.
Good, good. Well, now we're going to get into burning questions, which this is a
Yay!
segment of the show where I basically flip it and I put my guests in a hot seat and I ask a question that is so random and has absolutely
Uh-huh.
nothing to do with what we're talking about. So we're getting ready to flip it and go in a whole different direction.
Okay.
So you live in New York, and I have to tell you that things that have been coming from New York has not always been good, especially after this pandemic. New
Uh-huh.
York was a little rough anyway to begin with, but this whole thing that we've been going on since 2020 has allowed people to show the world exactly who they really are, you know. And during
Uh-huh.
that time frame, and even now, you see a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm just shocked with the stuff that I see on Instagram, on Facebook, these people's feeds, and everyone wants to pick up a cell phone and start to film and record whenever there's some disaster going on. I mean, I could not believe the stuff that I seen between yesterday and today. And you
Uh-huh.
actually were in or around, one of these events. What is it, a shooting or whatever the hell they had going
Right.
on?
Yeah, there was a shooter in the subway. I think there were two. I think there was another one that happened.
I know, yeah,
Um,
I've seen that. And now we have it to where the social media apps, you press buttons or you tag that you're safe. That's how I actually found out about two of these events because friends have marked themselves safe.
yeah.
With all of this going on, especially you living in the heart of this, how do you live in a moment and not live in fear? How do you just go about your day? What are some things that you do to just say, okay, that happened yesterday. It's over. It's done. I'm just going to live in a moment and focus on today. How do you come about that? Because me, uh,
First of all, for me, I avoid visual cues. I don't watch the news. I read the news either on Reuters or or listen to it. But I avoid the visuals. If people post, people lying in pools of blood, I go on to the next
swipe it
picture
immediately.
immediately.
Mm.
I cannot handle violence in any way, shape, or form in that kind of sense. I mean, I can watch movie violence right and left, when we're talking about The Exorcist, but I can't handle
Real life
looking at real violence.
situations. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't give myself those images in my head. I try to avoid them as much as possible.
I mean,
Um, and I try to stay positive as much. I mean, these are things that are in the news,
mhm,
and you're going to hear lots of bad news in the news because that's what makes news.
that's true.
But there are countless, infinite number of things that are happening that are positive that you don't hear in the news. And there's so much more of that than there is negative things and bad things. And I have to keep reminding myself of that. It's, I went through a very dark time in the beginning of 2020, as many of us did. And I feel like I came out of that a stronger person.
Mm-hmm.
I came out of there that as less fearful than I was. I feel like I can face things a little bit more. Now, that may change tomorrow. If somebody starts shooting guns around me or shoots me, God forbid, that may change. But I feel like I don't want to say this because it sounds like it's all David centric, but it's, I had an experience recently with my move that made me believe that I have angels, watching for me, and so I do believe that there are entities, or that there's higher forces that if we call upon them, that they can help protect us.
Mm-hmm.
And or even sometimes if we don't call on them.
That's true. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love everything you said. Like when it comes to the news and people watching it, and listen, I don't watch the news. I used to. I used to actually fall asleep to the news. I used to fall asleep to some crazy things. And I didn't realize that you have to be, at that time, I didn't realize you have to be very careful about the things that you listen to, the things that you watch. And if I had known better, I would have never fell asleep to any of those things, because you know what happens when you sleep and you play things like that, that gets embedded in you. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can't run from it because your friend is posting it on Facebook, or you're scrolling past a feed. Right before I came on the show here, I scrolled across something of another road rage event where somebody actually shot and killed somebody. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't go looking for it, but it ends up being there. So it's like you said, just swipe past it real quick and move on, and try not to get into it. And I try not to.
Do you feel like
Go ahead.
Do you feel like things become more violent, or do you feel like it's just more violence is visual to us, or visible to us because of social media?
I think
Or
because I think both. I think because it is so visual and it's so readily accessible, that it makes some people want to go ahead and act out on it even more.
Interesting.
Because once you start to see something like that, once you start to visualize it, it becomes normal. And it's becoming so normal for people to act that way that it's just like whatever. Um, and if you're not shocked by it and you're not having a conversation that you and I are having about it, or you're like sharing it and you're hyping it up and I've seen some people sharing these videos that probably shouldn't be sharing these videos, but it becomes normalized. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, just this morning, a coworker told me that the first thing she says when she walks in is like, "Guess what I saw? I saw a woman attacked with a baseball bat at the auto show," and she grabbed the bat and started beating him back, and it's just like, I was like, "Good Lord, why does this have to be the first thing you tell me about in the morning?"
That's what, and people seek for people, because once you get a little bit, you're gonna want more of it, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though, but I think if we have some sort of faith and or even intelligence. I think we realize that we just can't live in fear all the time, even if we are in the middle of something very bad. You have to keep living, and
Yeah.
I can't, and I say that thinking about these tragedies going on in the Ukraine right now, and
Mm.
what anything that we are going through here is absolutely nothing compared to the hell that has been going on there. And so that's a whole other
Yeah.
conversation right there
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
hour. But that's another thing is perspective,
Hmm.
is keeping perspective.
Yeah. Mm. Well, like I say, live in a moment the best way you can. Try not to dwell on
Uh-huh.
that. Be very careful with the thing. And I'm just, you already know this, but I'm, giving this to the people out there. Be very
Uh-huh.
careful with the things that you look at and the things that you're listening to, because it could take you to a whole nother situation.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to go ahead and leave this show on a dead note like this. So
Do you have another burning question that's more fun?
I actually don't tonight. But you can go ahead and let them know where they can find your wonderful work at, and you know that'll give somebody some uplifting things to look at instead of looking at the news. They can scroll through your shop and look at your portraits.
Well, my shop is on Etsy, and it's David Wayne Fox Studios, and you can be found very easily by the search on Etsy. I think I'm the only one, David Wayne Fox, on there, and got just lots of prints for sale of Scotland and New York and Colorado and Atlanta, a lot of places that are when I've traveled to, and I and then again my Instagram is David Wayne Fox Photography and DW Fox Portraits, where we can see our dear Laren in his lovely shots, that some of them that I did.
I'm going to go ahead and
Last year.
repost a couple of those things to the story
Please
as
do,
well
yeah.
after we're done here. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. If you want to go ahead and give us one last word before we go ahead and sign off, anything you want to let everyone know?
Oh,
Words
and
of
of course now that I can't think of a single thing.
no word.
Just stay healthy, stay hydrated, stay happy, and um, be generous.
There you go. I mean, what you give is what you get. Very
Yeah.
simple. Well, thank you so much. I believe that you'll be coming back soon in the future. Um,
Yes.
I think we did we establish that and have it mapped
We
out.
did. It's June or July. I forgot which, but I've got the date written down. So,
Okay, cool.
and I hope to have a lot more photography to talk about then.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will around that time. You should.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, you have a wonderful evening. I didn't ask you how Easter was, but I'm sure it was wonderful. Um,
Yeah.
and what's the next holiday that we got coming up? What's it going to be? It's going to be, I know we got
Uh,
Mother's Day, then we have Memorial Day.
yeah. Yeah.
Are you doing
4th of
anything?
July is coming up
You
then.
doing anything for Memorial Day?
I have not made plans.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, we will definitely be in touch.
Come on,
Thank you so
come on
much.
down. Let's do another shoot.
Yeah, I definitely would love to. Well, you have a wonderful evening. take care, and I will definitely be in touch.
You take care, Lara. It's great to talk to you again.
Same here. Good night.
Good night.
Alrighty. Well, there you have it, everybody. That was Mr. David Wayne Fox. Y'all go ahead and check him out. Again, I'm going to go ahead and post some of the shoots that we had. It was a great experience and wonderful individual, amazing with his camera. So, listen, if you would like to support the 411 podcast and Reading Between the Lines, please go ahead and click that link above. All of my social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, D Live, Twitch. Very special thank you to Mr. Peabody Nick for coming through with your antics. I love when D Live people come through. Had a great experience tonight. And of course, I have to give it up to my executive producer, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for allowing me to come out here and give you all the 411 podcast one more time in life. Without him, none of this would be possible. Without each and every one of you out there, it wouldn't be possible either. So I want to say thank you so much. Go ahead and get that volume 1.5 Deliberation Remix Journal, $7.99, a 30-day transformational journey towards a healthier mindset. What's going on, Mr. Jonathan? How are you? We getting ready to go ahead and sign up off of here. I actually will be in touch with you soon as well. Definitely want to touch base with you on a couple things. Tomorrow, we have Miss Shonda coming in the building. Slips Gloss by Shonda. We have Marquise Toyer coming up this week. June Polion. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right. Don't know how I am with these names. And then Tony Green from YRE Hair Growth. All coming in on a 411 podcast this week. I just want to say thank you so much. And I'll see you tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, 411 podcast. Take care, y'all. Have a good night.